Island Escape 2 is the sequel to Little Joe's Island Escape 3D, an open-world game in which your character is stuck on an island with terrifying beasts and intriguing beings called Big Backers. Island Escape 2, however, is an open-world game in which your character is stuck on an island with terrifying beasts and intriguing beings called Big Backers. Wait a minute.
It's all the same!
Yeah, Island Escape 2 is basically the same game as Island Escape 3D. The physics are the same, the game mechanics are the same, and the characters and enemies are the same. It really is just the same thing. Or is it the same? While the game basically looks the same, there is one thing that makes it stand out from its sibling, and that is the landscape. What the f***? Island Escape has some really mysterious maps. I don't know any other word to describe it. Oxford won't tell me.
Give me words to complain with!
The first game had you walk by a village, see a random wall, and find sheds randomly dispersed across the landscape. It felt barren, yet there was presence of life even in the smallest amounts. Island Escape 2 is much more vast in size. The island makes you feel as if there truly were civilization here some time ago. The abandoned towns populated by a few big backers, the ominous and seemingly never-ending dungeons, towers overseeing every corner of the island, and then the Black Castle type thing. Why is this castle here? Who placed it? Who lived in this building? Why is it so dark I keep falling off the walls of this place? Who knows? It's pretty intriguing and makes you want to explore more, find out about the lore of all these locations, these people, and yet there's no substance to it. Sure, it's really fun to look around all the nooks and crannies of the map, but the problem is that there's no incentive to search. Why? I wish the player was able to learn more about this enigmatic civilization that is brought up every so often. I don't know. Maybe it was the developer's intention to leave us with so little knowledge. After all, they are a long forgotten civilization. Or maybe they didn't bother. Anyways, my goodness, this map is gigantic! In comparison to Island Escape 1, and most online games back then, Island Escape 2 just throws you right into the middle of a piss-off sized area. Which is really empty. I mean, it's cool, doing a sightseeing tour of sorts, but come on, I have to spend 5 decades walking around for 7 billion kilometers trying to figure out where to go? Sure, I can level up my run and jump skill, but still, that takes a while to get to a reasonable level. If only there was some sort of way of moving faster from point A to point B. Maybe some vehicle. Yes, the almighty physics distortion device has made its way to Island Escape 2 in a different form. Most importantly, it drives like ass and you can shoot your gun while driving, so it's one of the best things in the game. Look, I love me some clunky and jank physics in games, especially when they're related to vehicles. It's the perfect setup for some of the stupidest moments in the game. Enemies. The first game glorified violence and even recommended it by giving the player the option of machine guns or rocket launchers, all which could be used in a dedicated arena for massacre. The sequel takes it back a notch. It's now a bit more casual. In my gameplay, there weren't as many enemies spawning in, and, perhaps unfortunately, there are no slightly unethical arenas to decide the fate of the creatures. But don't get me wrong, the combat is as fun as ever. Enemies still turn around nonsensically, and the explosives are still a bit overpowered. My favorite. And you're gonna need to get through a bunch of these monsters because the quests have returned. And they are just as boring as last time. Look, I dislike comparing games of the same franchise to each other. I try and treat them like their own separate entities. Looking at you, relate Stump. The quests do come off as if they were copy and pasted. They function all the same. Get quest, go to place, waste time trying to get to place, get thing, waste time trying to get back from place, done. A very similar situation was in the first game. However, the smaller size of the island made it manageable. But the plot this time is slightly, just slightly, thicker. So, there's this professor guy who has a locked door which you have to get. Makes you wonder whether he just lost the key and had to sit in his office space for who knows how many days. I had that happen to me once. It was not nice.
Jesus, are you okay?
Yeah, have milk. Anyways, he speaks of the accomplishments of the previous civilization. Turns out, despite how long ago they were present on this island, they possess technology more advanced than in the modern times. including teleportation devices. Pretty sweet stuff. So, the professor asks us to get our hands on these devices because they are stored somewhere on this island. What do you think about the plot?
Well, it seems like it's really realistic, you know. It reminds me of when we discovered that Egyptians have electricity, you know. It's the same thing. Mesopotamia used to teleport to Mars, and then we found like Mesopotamic ceramic in Mars. So what's the real difference with reality, you know?
Thus, I spent around 30 minutes trying to find the place, searching for the devices and having to spend even more time trying to remember and figure out where the professor's hideout was. This hurts. Why can't there be locations pointed out on the minimap? I mean, look around in this game and usually you'll get very similar landscapes. Look to the left, hills. Look to the right, hills. Look up, the same goddamn blue sky. Look down.
Hey, good technique. Keep it up.
Anyways, after we sort the devices out, we can use them, and they are pretty neat. Saves time when it comes to traveling. Well, I thought a recipe would have become available for building more of them. Speaking of which, crafting. It's the same system from the first island escape, so there's nothing new here. It's a basic system in which you put two items together and create something newer and better than the previous items. In fact, one of the first things which you have to do in the game is build a spear from a stone which the first big backer gives you, and a stick which you can grab from a tree. Sticks. These thin little pricks. You see, in an unknown world, one must fight for their survival. Utilizing whatever means they have to become one with the world. So that's why when you find a tree, you spam the hell out of the E key. Grab as many sticks as you physically can before your muscles in your arm explode, after which you take all the sticks to a shop and sell all of the sticks. You will be a millionaire within minutes with this simple trick. It's worth the wasted arm. It's a broken monetary system with these sticks. Really, I was able to purchase endgame equipment which was able to quickly destroy practically anything some 40 minutes into my game. Makes you wonder if you can start a business like that in real life.
Hey, I heard you needed some sticks. Efficient, they get the job done, provide extra security. Very good stuff. $3. I mean, I don't know what to say, really.
Maybe, just maybe, nostalgia got the better of me when I was talking about Island Escape 1, because I don't remember it being as boring as the sequel. Island Escape 2 suffers from being too big to compensate for. There's too much of nothing happening, and because of that, I can imagine many just putting the game down and doing something else, like subscribing to my YouTube channel.
But the main reason I stopped playing is... I got stuck.
The game has a bit of a bug. You see, I obtained this key from this big backer and have to go down the well in one of the villages. So, you know, I go to the village, use the key on the well, and it... I can't get down there. Maybe if I use a teleportation device... No, it just doesn't work. Turns out, I think the well itself is set as a fully solid object, meaning there is no chance of me getting down into the well where I need to go, thus ending my adventure there.
That just sounds existential. I mean, imagine your life's work ending there and then because you couldn't go through something. Jeez.
I think it's a good summary of Island Escape 2 as a whole. You can see the potential and possibilities with the quick open world experience that this game can provide, but it just doesn't attempt it and it stumbles in really simple areas. I don't know, I probably had a bit too much nostalgia for Island Escape 1, and yeah, that game does suck in its own way as well, but at least it didn't waste time, which made the bad elements of the first game not get in the way. This one did. It tested your patience with trying to traverse through the open world, and that sucks. I really think this could have been such a good sequel, somehow retaining the janky physics and simplistic look while adding to the content.
I, however, will not take your time away. I'm Relate, and on that note, see ya.